most people who quit learning something new quit at exactly the same stage. Not at the beginning when it's exciting, not at the end when it's hard, but somewhere in the middle when they know just enough to realize how much they don't know. And that feeling, that specific, uncomfortable, identity shaking feeling, it has a name, and understanding it might just change everything. So today we are talking about music, but honestly, we are talking about you. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, part of Healthy Mind by Avik Network, your go to podcast for the honest, practical, and genuinely supportive conversations about everyday mental well being. I'm your host, Avik, and I have to say that today's episode took me completely by surprise in the best possible way. So, uh, I'm joined by a lovely guest. Please welcome Tara Connaghan. So, welcome to the show.
Hello, Avik. How are you doing?
Amazing. I'm doing really great. I'm really happy to have you here today, and thank you so much for joining here. And um, dear listeners, before we get deep into this discussion, so Tara is a professional Irish fiddle player, podcaster, author, educator, tour guide, and arts manager based in Ireland. So, who specializes in something most people have never even considered: the unspoken etiquette of Irish traditional music sessions. Amazing, right? I'm really feeling um, that sense of the music. I'm really, really loving it. So, through her work, she helps musicians, especially newcomers and the adult learners, navigate that unfamiliar group spaces with confidence, respect, and self awareness. But as you will hear today, what she's really teaching goes far beyond the music. So I'll not take much of your time. Tara, welcome to the show. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Avik, for having me. I'm so excited.
Amazing, amazing. So, Tara, like before we get into the four stages and all the rich territory that lives there, I did love to start with you. Like, you work in a world that is steeped in tradition, community, and very particular kind of belonging. So, what first drew you to not just playing Irish traditional music, but to especially focusing on the social and emotional experience of entering that world?
Um, Entering the world of the emotional side of the music, or the emotional side of the because I've been playing the music since I was probably 9, 10, kind of, but 12 is kind of when I started properly. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was there was there was about 12, 13. It was still, something that you did every week. And but then around 14, 15, I started to be brought to festivals by one of my friend's fathers. He would bring the two of us, and we would have so much fun. And I could see other people just having so much fun. And that is really what drew me in. I was like, oh, I could do this for the rest of my life. Ah,
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. So, I mean, definitely. So it came from lived experience and not just the observation.
So then, as I started getting a bit older and started then, from around the age of
Mhm.
18, 19, you would maybe start to teach a little bit. And
Yeah.
especially with adult learners, I found that they were missing the part where, as young people, you're told by your elders, oh, wait a minute, don't do this. It's much more easier to tell young people, because you're kind of in that
Exactly.
elder role. So you can say, look, not your turn yet, but we'll get to you in a second. Whereas as an adult learner, you can't say that. It's very, well, you could, but it's very hard to say to another adult, it's not your turn here yet. Wait a second, because you're condescending, or, they just thought, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm an adult. So therefore, that little bit of information is never passed on to adults as newcomers or adult learners in music, in a group setting. So they're missing that. And so I found as I was teaching over the years for the last, what, 35 years, 30 years, every time I would teach adults, they would ask me the same questions like, am I allowed to do this? I'm allowed to do that. Should I do this? Should I do that? What am I supposed to do here? Am I allowed to start a tune? Am I allowed to sit in that chair? And they had so many questions about joining Irish music sessions. So it, I kind of thought it was more to do with performance anxiety, but as I got a little bit deeper into it, it was actually just the anxiety of joining a group setting. Um, and as you say as well, you mentioned at the start there about, the exciting new phase when everybody is, it's all lovely and new and exciting, the honeymoon period. And then they start to move into the changing room. A friend of mine calls it the changing room, where you try something on, you're like, oh yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah. And that's the phase that's really hard, where they just go, I'm not so sure. And they don't want to go into, they kind of are in and out of the changing room going, yes, yes, I like this. Oh God, no. And then somebody, they see somebody else or somebody else sees them and they go, oh, I'm feeling embarrassed now. And so they run back into the changing room and hide. But it's metaphorically speaking in terms of music, they might get all excited when they go into the session and then they are like, I don't know enough. I don't have enough skills. I can't play at this speed. I don't know enough of the tunes or the repertoire. And so they run back out and they're scared. So this is the area I'm in.
I understand. I totally understand. Yeah. And yeah, so obviously. So, also I'd love to ask you about like the four stages of learning. And so for the listeners who aren't familiar, this framework has been around in the education and the psychology for a while. And the idea that we move from not knowing what we don't know all the way to unconscious competence, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, but you have applied it to the music, and in a way that I think unlocks something really important. So, if you can just walk us through, like, and tell us, like, which stage is a kind of danger zone, where do most people give up, or why, kind of thing. I mean, if you can share.
Yeah, I mean, at the first, there's the unconscious incompetence where they're completely unaware of the music or totally unaware of, something, any new skill. It's
Yeah.
totally outside of your psyche. You're just, excuse me, totally unaware of it. And then, and you're unaware that you're even unaware of it. So it's like unaware of the ignorance. And then it starts to come into your consciousness. Maybe you've been to a pub, an Irish pub where there's this a session. You're like, oh, oh, this is really interesting. What is this? And you start to become
Mm.
um, aware of it. And then at that stage, you become aware of, oh, but I don't know anything about this. You start to question all the time about what is this? Look, I'm too old. I wouldn't be able to do this. Or, oh, I'm not from Ireland, therefore. But there's all those negatives then start coming in immediately. Uh,
Yeah.
and then you maybe start to say, well, maybe I will. If you get past that phase of, no, oh, I'll never be able to do it. Because a lot of people don't even engage because that's the stage where they just go, no, I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm whatever your I'm too, you know, whatever your I'm too reason is, they don't even engage. But those who do actually engage move on to the next phase, which is the conscious confidence, where they're conscious that it's really in focus and they're like, right, I'm actually going to start doing this. And they start to learn it and they go to a class. They start to learn more about it. They start listening. They start learning. And it's an effort because it's something new and everything is always an effort at the new stages. And that is the changing room phase there. That is like the hard graft phase because we can never learn anything new by not putting effort into it or not putting hours and time into it. Um, and there's kind of two ways you can learn. There's the slow burner, which is maybe 5-10 minutes every single day, and it compounds over the years. And then there's the other phase where you do like an immersion for a weekend or a week, and that kind of accelerates that a little bit, and then you continue on with the 5-10 minutes a day. And so it's kind of supplemented by the immersion time as well. And that kind of builds up. It does take a long time. As my dentist here in Ireland says, he's a musician as well. And he said if he had put the amount of hours into his dentistry that he has put into his music, he said he would be world class dentist, earning huge amounts of money, whereas he's actually just a hobby musician.
Uh,
So just that the amount of time that is required in music is probably a bit more extreme than other things, but
uh,
that's just it. So that is the phase where most people start kind of, after the honeymoon phase is ended, or that is kind of where they start realizing it's a long slog. And even within that, there's layers and layers of learning. And um, so a lot of people then don't get past into the next stage of the unconscious competence, which is where, a lot of people drive cars. And when you drive and you reach your destination, you'd say, I don't remember actually driving. Did I pass? And they go, which route did I take? I can't even remember. They were on autopilot. So it's that autopilot stage that is the unconscious competence, um, where you don't even have to think about it anymore. And that is a really hard stage to get to. Um, it's something that you're so familiar with, it just happens. It's like the muscle memory just happens by itself. And a lot of people don't make it to that because they just see there's too much effort to get there and they give up.
exactly. Wow. Amazing. And lovely. That stage sounds genuinely, I'd say, kind of painful because it's the moment where your awareness out paces your ability, and you can see the gap clearly, but cannot yet close it, right? So, uh,
I mean, it is possible. But I suppose most people nowadays we all just want the pill that takes, makes things happen really quickly. We just want things to happen immediately, and
yeah,
I think with learning, you just have to put the time and effort into learning. And so the rewards then are great at the end because once you're in that unconscious competence phase where you're doing something on automatic pilot, I mean,
yeah,
when we play music in a session, that's when you can really go into you're almost like transcending into a different universe. You're not focusing on I'm playing, my fingers are doing this, or my bow hand is doing that, but other people are doing this. You're just actually all collectively in one place, like a peak flow state. And it's so cool. It is the best feeling ever. I mean, it's
mm,
just so amazing. And
exactly.
that's like we keep wanting that first hit again. It's addictive.
Yeah, exactly. So, what you are describing is definitely a kind of uh, cruel irony, I would say. The moment that you become aware enough to improve is also the moment that you become vulnerable enough to stop as well. So, uh,
Absolutely.
that is not a music problem. I'd say that's a human problem.
It is. And also, if you think about the needs as well of human needs is, we all want to be that like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs as well
Yeah.
is in there too in a session because we all just want safety. That's kind of the surroundings around us, and belonging. That's the connection within the circle of musicians. As a learner, so I mean, as a learner, there's so much. Not only are you learning maybe possibly a new instrument for the first time, you're learning new tunes, new repertoire for the first time. You're in a group setting with new people for the first time. I mean, the amount of overwhelm. And then you're also in this really stage of consciously incompetence, aware of how much you don't know and how much you're not good enough. I mean, it's an awful place to be. Not, I mean, it's really hard to. uh, my heart goes out to so many adult learners that they're so brave for doing it. So,
Got it.
oh yeah, I started actually learning another instrument. It started when I was in college, actually learning a concertina. It's like a little hexagon shaped small box that is like an accordion, but a much smaller and thinner tone on it. And I had it beside my desk because actually a friend of mine had it for about 20 years. And I got it back a few years ago and I had it at the side of my desk and I was completely really, really bad. I was just learning and I had it beside the desk and I was doing every time I was kind of fed up with emails or something that was annoying me, I would just take the concertina for 5 minutes and play a couple of notes. And every time I was kind of compounding, and then my other half said, he said, "Wow, you're starting to get good at this, actually." And but it had built up over a couple of months. And then my desk got a little busy, and I moved the concertina up behind me on a shelf behind me, and now I never take it out, and I need to get it back on the desk. So concertina skills are definitely fading at the moment.
Hmm. I got it. Yeah. I want to bring this to life a little. Like, um, can you paint me a picture, like a really specific, relatable scenario of what it looks like when someone walks into a kind of um, Irish traditional music session without this contextual knowledge? And what do they do? I mean, what do they feel, and how does uh, kind of unfold? I mean, some glimpse. I mean, if you can say.
Yeah, it's I suppose when a learner brain walks into a session, that sounds like the start of a joke.
Okay.
A learner brain and a skilled brain walk into the same notion. So when the learner goes in, they look at the surroundings, and their brain says, "What are the demands on me here? And do I have the resources that can follow through on this?" So the learner brain says, "Okay, oh sugar, this session, this music is a little bit faster than what I can play. Oh no, that's a threat. I can't play." They start thinking of the deficiencies that they have, that they don't have enough skills, and they start to see the session as a threat. So that automatically is a threat response. So whereas the same, like a musician that is a skilled musician walks into the same session and maybe it's a little bit faster than they would normally play, and maybe they're playing different tunes than they would normally play, they see it as a challenge because they know they have in their toolkit, the resources that they have, they're able to play fast, they're able to, they do have a lot of tunes, but they just don't quite know those tunes. But it becomes like, oh, I could learn this. This is an opportunity rather than a threat. So, I mean, and that's just natural. But sometimes the word etiquette,
Yes.
here, it has so many negative connotations when really it's there to protect people as well. It
Hmm.
actually should be more. I'm on a mission to try and change the word etiquette, to try and make it, that it has the full encompass of it actually is there to protect newcomers as well, so that
Yeah.
they can feel like they're protected and there's a safety blanket around them. Um, so I always tell people when they're coming to an Irish music session for the first time, maybe if they can, go 4 times in a row to the same session so that you can start to feel comfortable, that you actually introduce yourself to the musicians and saying, "Look, I'm learning. Would you mind if I at some stage sit in and bring my instrument?" I mean, 99% of the time people will say, "Absolutely. Have you got it with you tonight?" And they'll say, "Oh God, no." But I might bring it another time. Maybe ask, "Can I maybe record the music so that I could learn some of the tunes at home?" Because this is new repertoire that I don't know. So I do encourage that. And then, because that's what I did when I was younger, I realized I don't when I was going into a session, there was so many different tunes that I didn't know, because when I went to university, I'm from a place in the northwest called Donegal, and I went to university in Cork, which is in the very south of the country, and I didn't know
Okay.
any. They have a very different repertoire, so I didn't know any tunes, and I realized, that this was a kind of a threat. So I said, right, I need to make a plan. So I asked if I record. I recorded the tunes so that I could learn them at home, and then I put the recording. This was on an old tape, a cassette tape. We're not talking about mobile phones. Um, and I put the recording on with the big speakers, the hi-fi speakers, and I played along and I played along and played along until I was more comfortable. And then, so I recreated that environment at home, and then I was able to go in and perform, or play in the session, join in with other people. So I do recommend, even as you say, it doesn't have to be about music, but if there's any situation where you can recreate at home so that you're practicing it and then you're not as uncomfortable when you get in, it just takes a little bit of the edge off.
Hmm. Right. And amazing, yeah. So uh also would love to ask you, like, uh if someone wants to connect with you,
Yeah.
how they can connect.
I have a website. It's called sessionetiquette.com. And I also have a podcast. It's called In Tune with Tradition, Perspectives on Session Etiquette in Irish Traditional Music. So that's the website for that podcast as well. You can listen to all the episodes there or on Spotify or Apple or anywhere. And so yeah, I've kind of got a I'm I'm starting to do some workshops now with specifically on this topic. I mean, I do teach adult learners on a weekly basis, and I kind of teach this as part of learning the fiddle, learning the instrument. But these workshops are just dedicated solely to. It's not even we're not even playing the music. We're only just dedicated to learning the kind of I suppose to lessen the anxiety, so that everybody can experience that magic in a session that I know is possible.
Correct.
Very exciting times. Yeah, it's very
So yeah.
I love it.
So dear listeners, like what I'll do is I'll put all the links and the details into the show notes for easy reference. And what Tara has reminded us today is that the moment you most want to quit is almost always the moment that you are closest to something real. And yeah, and discomfort is not a sign that you don't belong. It's I would say it's a sign that you are paying attention to. And uh attention with a kind of little knowledge and a lot of kindness towards yourself is exactly where confidence begins, right? So amazing. And thank you so much for spending time with us on Healthy Mind and Healthy Life. And um, dear listeners, here's what I want to carry with you from today, that uh, wherever you are in your learning, whatever stage you are sitting in right now, you haven't failed. You are just in the middle, and the middle, as uncomfortable as it is exactly where growth lives. So be patient with yourself this week. Notice where you are holding back out of fear rather than a choice. And maybe, just maybe, uh, consider going back to that thing that you left too soon. So if today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who is in the middle of something hard. Leave us a review if that helped. And it means more than you know. And we will be back soon with another honest, practical conversation to support your everyday well being. So, till that time, this is your host, Avik, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Take good care of your mind and take good care of each other. Thank you so much.